Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new ESO video with me, Sherman. Today we're going to be talking about some of the stuff the devs talked about in the live stream, and mainly like why people aren't seeing a lot of stuff coming from the test side when it comes to the base game changes, the base classes, and things like that. A lot of it has to do with those changes. Those things is like why aren't you seeing that stuff is because a lot of us are still working out, these rotations and new ideas and new play styles, because the fact that the game's changing so much, and it's and then like going to talk about the live stream. The reason why the game's changing so much is because, like the dev said, they wanted to put the classes more in a balanced feel for each other. So like if you wanted to play, to make it to where all classes were viable in all roles, not just the Templar's good at being a healer, the DK is good at being a tank, the Nightblade's good at being DPS, and only that. They want people to play the classes as other roles, not just focused onto one. And that's one of the things they mentioned about the Warden, and I think I'm okay to say this because they talked about it themselves, so I don't see why I can't say it. The Warden is being put in as a jack-of-all-trades class that specializes either in ice tanking, specializes in healing, or specializes in this utility DPS thing. And each of the, you could even go go and crossbreed that with where you could use ice, nature, and animal companion, and you could like really make a really cool comboed class. But it was really designed to where you'd focus either on ice for tanking, you'd focus on healing through the green tree, you'd focus on this through this tree. And it's because the other classes are not like that. We have our advantages and disadvantages in each tree, kind of, like even with the Nightblade's kind of like this. The assassin tree's DPS tree, the shadow tree's the tank tree, the siphoning tree is the healer's tree, and so you have these things, but you still utilize abilities from each one, no matter what kind of build you're playing. Even if you're playing a tank, you're still using like the Path of Darkness, you're using Aspect of Terror kind of thing, you're using the Shades, you're using Consuming Dark, you're using skills from each area of the character, and that's what makes the classes so different, but at the same time play so similar in the roles that you choose. Like if you're playing a tank, you're going to go for this tree and kind of thing. Like if you're playing a Templar tank, you focus on all three. If you're playing a DK tank, you're focusing more on most people focus on all three trees. And it's the same thing with the Sork, same thing with the Nightblade. But with the Warden, it's singular. It's more singular. So it's easier to understand kind of thing. And so I think that's a good thing with the Warden. Now, again, a lot of people are still OP in this thing, but you got to remember, it's still got a lot of iterations to go through. They're in a major test phase for this build, or for that class. So they're really, really looking for feedback on it and seeing all the changes that are coming down. So if you're on test and you're messing with it, go do that, but I can't say any more than that. So the other thing that they talked about was like the changes coming to the skills, and that's another reason why you're not seeing a lot of stuff being done on the test server by a lot of the normal YouTubers, those kind of things, is because we still have a lot of class skills going through iterations, through more, they're getting changes, they're getting tweaks and stuff. Like Luminous Shards from the Templar is now going to be giving back both stamina and magicka to the person. It's just going to give a partial amount from the other person, and the shards itself, Luminous Shards, is going to hit harder. It's just not going to get the damage over time like the Blazing Shards. So that's the difference between the two. Like if you're running Blazing Shards, it's going to do damage over time. If you're running Luminous Shards, it's going to do more damage up front, and then you can siphon both resource sources, except you're only going to get a larger pool from whatever your max is, and then whatever your sub one is, you're only going to get a partial pool. So if you're playing a tank and somebody throws you out a Luminous Shards and you're a magic tank, but you're low on stamina, you're still going to get stamina back from that Luminous Shards, but you're going to get more magicka back than you will. It's like you get the full amount in magicka, but you get a partial amount, like half of that in stamina. and then the vice versa. You get a full amount of stamina and a partial amount of magicka. So Luminous Shards is getting that change. Nightblades, we're getting a half. We're getting all. This is, you know, our siphoning strikes is getting cut in half. The cost, they said, about by half, but we're not going to get as much back. So we're not going to get as many resources back. But it's going to allow for us to really get in and focus on light and heavy attacks with our rotation. And like they said, you can either go for a heavy resource recovery build, or you can go for a one that uses things like this, where you're using light and heavy attacks. And to be honest, I think it's a good change that they're doing that. It does put the Nightblade better on track, and it doesn't. It's not really going to hurt siphoning tanks as much as people are making out. Siphon tanks are just going to have to drop their block more often and hit with more heavy attacks. So you might want to look into maybe changing one of your gear sets out. I know like a lot of people like Tavas, but you might want to change one of your gear sets out for one like a heavier resistance gear, or something like that gives you a little bit more armor, so that way you have a little bit greater survivability, because Nightblades don't get a boost in their magic resistance like the DK does or the Templar does. So they're kind of lacking there. So if you went with something that gave you a little bit more magic resistance, maybe, I don't know, or even use the champion points to compensate for your lack thereof, you could get more out of it. Because now with the champion system, again, being more front-loaded, it really does balance out the game a lot more, because you can go for a heavy resistance build versus one that mitigates a lot of damage, you know, through damage reduction. So you can go with that, and it does make a big difference in the end. Now the only thing I'm seeing different with this character is I do take a lot more damage, so I do need greater resistances at some point somewhere. I do need those greater resistances, and that's kind of why I stick with Mirage, is because it does give me a boost in resistances. And if I'll show you guys here real quick so you can see, I can use Mirage, and now my resistances are 15-15, and then if I get my monster set to proc, it will give me another 6,000, so I'll be sitting at 21-21 on my spell and physical resistance. I can try to get it to proc from one of these bugs, but I don't know like how well it'll work, but we can try. So I need to do some siphoning attacks here real quick to get my health back up. It doesn't seem to proc as much as it does like on my tank and stuff, but like when I was tanking with this guy, man, that thing was procking like crazy. It procced a lot, my monster set did. And I think a lot of it now has to do with the amount of damage you take and things. But if I can get that monster sect to proc, I have like a 20k resistance. And I think that's a lot better than what I had before. I do need to, you know, and I'm only going to wear one reinforced gear piece now. And that's going to be my heavy armor will always be reinforced to give me extra resistances. This is with what I look like without Mirage. But if you look, I'm wearing full Divines, so... except for my shoulder, which is well fitted. I need to get that changed to Divines and Light, and then I'll have the 511. And I don't have a high recovery also, so I'm kind of hurting there as well. So I'm like debating on taking one of my weapon things off here and making it stamina recovery, because I haven't changed these over to Kuda based ones to the gold legendary glyphs. And everything, and same thing with these. I haven't changed these over to legendary and this over to legendary. I need to change that up to disease damage, because Nightblades do work with poison damage. They do, don't get me wrong. But disease is what they're all about. So I went with more disease damage. As you can see, I have disease damage on my dagger there. I have weapon damage on this one. And you can also, if you're using 2 weapon damage enchantments on your weapons up front, you do have a greater chance of proccing that weapon damage, which is really good. So I try to keep those things up as well as I can, and I've been kind of just tinkering around with my build and with all of my characters, just trying to get the right combination of gear, not just gear, but like right combination of skills and things like that, so I can actually play my character and get more out of him, kind of thing, and make sure that he still works really well and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if I really push my DPS with this guy right now, I'm looking at about 25 to 32k DPS consistent but I can only go. You have to go in a burst, and it's one of the things the devs are talking about in live stream again. Is they want different phases in the boss encounter. They want a burst phase, they want a regen phase, and then a burst phase. So they want the content to be that way. They just like the light and heavy attacks. They want it to be that way. They wanted to make the changes to the system so that more classes weren't defined by their by role, that they were defined by what you chose to play them as. So you could play them in as any role. And so I think that a lot of these changes again are good, and I really do think they're good changes. And yeah, it hits some classes pretty hard, like resource management wise and everything. But if you get in the right, if you get in the right rotation down, and you maximize your rotation with light and heavy attacks, you can get a lot more out of your character. Now with this character, what I try to do if on a boss is I go through my rotation, and usually by this time I get done with my second rapid strikes, I'm doing I've already done 2 or 3 light attacks in there. So I'll be my rotation pretty much is I start with Mirage, Siphon Strikes, hit him with Reaper's Mark, hit him with Focus Aim. Now you gotta remember, I'm using 2 sharpened weapons. I'm using Night Mother's Gaze, and so I get that extra penetration when I crit, and then I'm using this to apply some more. So I'm putting about 15k physical penetration on my enemies. So I literally remove all their resistance, their physical resistance. So I can apply the most damage my character can do all the time. So I use that. Now my siphoning strikes, I need to morph to do the poison, or not in my power drain. I want to morph to do the disease drain, or disease damage. I don't have it here. I have it on live. I don't have it here. And just like siphoning strikes, I have it set up to the toggle right now on live, where I lose the 20% weapon damage, but I can get a lot of resources back. I have it set for that one. Even though I should be using the other morph, I believe, the one that does the magic and stamina kind of thing, I think I should be using that because then I can keep my resources up better. But with the new changes, I'm going to be going with the other. I'm going to go vice versa here. So I'm going to go with leeching strikes for the health and stamina, and because I use mostly buffs from the magic side. I do use surprise attacks, so there's another way I apply the physical penetration or physical resistance to the enemy with Reaper's Mark. I've got this and that, so Reaper's Mark does the magic penetration for my group, and I like having it for a group play. I can put it on, I can put it on one target, hit my one ability on other enemies, and put the major fracture on the other enemies, while my Magicka people are DPS and like on the boss, and I can go around the room and ransack the rest of the mobs, just rip them apart kind of thing, and bring them down if I need to in a dungeon. And I can. In that mode dungeons, man, I go through a lot of damage capabilities. So, with this, I just go around the room and I just stack it on enemies so I can get that extra damage on there kind of thing. And it comes in handy. It comes in really, really handy doing that. But that's pretty much, that's pretty much it, guys. That's why we're not seeing a lot of stuff coming from test, is because people are testing. We're talking about a redesign pretty much to a lot of the game and how we play the game. So we have to relearn a lot of new things. And a lot of us are going through, again, testing a lot of stuff, finding out what's going to work best in the long run versus what's working right now, on live. We can't play the same way, so we're trying to find new ways to play, and that's pretty much it. But it's been fun. I have to say that I've been really enjoying it. Haven't done a whole lot of feedback stuff. I've done a few bug reports on certain things and things like that, but other than that, there hasn't been a whole lot of things to really say about the changes, other than what most people have been saying, like and really ignore most of the negativity. The devs still have time to do a lot of work on the balancing part, but most of the balance stuff is done. And for the most part, the champion system is done, the armor system, even with the reduced costs and everything, as you can see, Argonian Nightblade, I'm not burning through resources super fast. And if I'm throwing in a couple light attacks and things, if I'm not doing a rotation like Gilliam was showing off with his Nightblade, if I was doing a rotation like him, I'd be out of resources in a heartbeat. But you got to think, most mobs you fight don't have 1,000,000 health. They don't have 3,000,000 health. They have X amount of health. The only ones who have 1,000,000 health or more are bosses. And if you're in a good group, even now, you can still burn through these bosses pretty quick, especially with the new champion point system. I mean, I did go up about 2 or 3k DPS with this character with the champion point changes. So I went from, like 10k, 12k on my attack with this, and I'm hitting for 14, 15k now, and it's like, whoa, that's a big difference. And especially if I come out of stealth with it, I can almost one-shot most of the mobs in the game with that. And then of course on top of that, my snipe is hitting like a bus now, especially if I go into stealth. So I'll go into stealth here. I'm gonna hit this thing with the Reaper's Mark, and then I'll let you guys see for yourself. So this is out of stealth. I mean, so we're still getting a decent amount of damage out of stealth. And then on top of that, I get all that I have all that armor penetration. So it's kind of funny because like I get a lot of armor pen, and that's what makes Nightblade so powerful as it is we get all that armor penetration and everything. So we can eat through people's armor and just bring them down really fast. And I think that's something you're going to see a change in. I think you're going to see a change in that, because a lot of tanks also will be switching to new builds and things like that. You'll still see the sword and board tank as being the top dog when it comes to the main tank, but I think you're going to see a lot more like two-handed tanks, things like that, because of the bonuses that you're getting from all this other stuff now. Like you're going to be able to get armor penetration on your tank, a lot more. With like if you're going for that, or if you want to make a dot tank, you can do that. And so you're going to see a lot more of this stuff in the long run, and it's just going to be pretty amazing to see the total aspects of the changes to the game. So I love hitting that dagger with the disease on it, because it gets that 5k proc, and it, if it gets the extra damage and it gets all the other stuff that it gets. So oops. Here we go. Goodbye. As you can see, I'm not even really playing. I'm just dinking around right now. I'm not really trying to get a lot of DPS out of my guy. I've tested so much over here. I'm really just want to get back to live and play normal. Not because this area sucks so bad. It's just because now that I see what they're trying to do with the game even more, like making it to where people unlock more skills and have more skills accessible. I want to go do that. I want to go get all those skill points. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for this, guys. I mean, I could go into a lot more details explaining more stuff, but there's not a whole lot more to explain other than, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're doing. This is what a lot of us are doing. We're testing a lot more things that we don't usually have in our rotations. So it's a really big change. And to some people not so much. Me, it's not a bad change. I love the changes coming through. I can't wait for a lot of these changes. So it'll be cool. But yeah, that's it for now. I want to thank you all for joining me. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you guys want to see more videos by me, hit the subscribe button. And other than that, that's it for now. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and I will see you all later. Bye.